Shibuya, Hidden Inventory, and some other arcs as well. Jujutsu Kaisen has done well in building up on these arcs and showcasing how great of an author Gege is. The beauty of Hidden Inventory is it comes straight after season 1 and the events that had led up to giving us an introduction to our main cast. We get to introduce to one of the most overpowered characters in Gojo, but the Hidden Inventory makes him more fleshed out as well as gives us a whole new avenue on his character, who's an OP character written well. We also get into the decline of Geto, who's one of the most interesting, and all these events prelude to the events to come in terms of all the big reveals that end up happening in Shibuya and still till this modern day arc in the Culling Game. The Hidden Inventory in my opinion is probably the most underrated arc because it set up when Gege stepped his narrative ability to the next level while still giving us an amazing backstory and having important things still be relevant as we continue in the story. Shibuya, the current arc that people has showcased as the best arc in Jujutsu Kaisen currently. It built up on all the things that we were waiting for to see in terms of Gojo potentially getting sealed, Sukuna showcasing his true strength, finding out who was this person behind Geto's mask, and giving us so many crazy things in the arc, which has been regarded as potentially the best new gen arc, which in my opinion I am inclined to agree at this current juncture. But Shibuya could not have succeeded if it was not for all the events that happened before it and which led to it being something that was crazy, back-to-back amazing moments one by one. And now we're in the Culling Game. The Culling Game in my opinion will surpass even Shibuya. And we're building on some of the huge reveals that we got from Shibuya in terms of how does the world react with Gojo being sealed. We got perfect preparation, which we saw that with potentially Maki going on her complete tear of the Zenin clan and reaching the level of Toji. We've seen great development of our main cast, and people such as Yuji has accepted his cog mindset and met some interesting antagonists and previous incarnated sorcerers. But the arc that will surpass all of them, and the most important arc in Jujutsu Kaisen, is the HEIAN era. All the way back into chapter 5 or 4, I don't remember, in season 1 of the anime, we get to see one of the craziest things from Sukuna, who tells us, you don't know what true Jujutsu is. We are currently in chapter 205, and it feels as if as we continue to explore these high level characters, we get to showcase how much more intricate the power system is and how ignorant we are as an audience. What is true Jujutsu? What is the true meaning of curses? What do domain battles even do and how do they work? Where are the origins of simple domains? Because yes, we have ideas, we still haven't seen these ideas being constructed or even the ability of curse techniques and curse energy in general. The whole workings of curse energy still very limited to us as the audience. And now we're in the series where we've seen people such as Kenjaku have multiple curse techniques. People such as Sukuna, these being all sorcerers who have indicated to us as the audience and to our modern day sorcerers their ignorance to the power system as well, whether that is through things such as the curse techniques as just explained or things as simple as binding vows. These, in my opinion, are such key elements of the story, and that to chapter 205, we are still debating on things in regard to the power system, which is not common for a lot of series. And this is why the HEIAN era holds the key, because if we go back to chapter 136, Kenjaku said he's reinstating the golden age of curse techniques. So if we're now in a series which we haven't even seen the pivotal and the pinnacle of what curse techniques and curse energy can be used, it makes sense why this HEIAN era and backstory will showcase to us the real intricacies of the power system and give us more knowledge onto things such as domain battles and is the true nature of domains having it barrierless. We've had Sukuna, Kenjaku, two of arguably the strongest characters in the series, showcase to us that the potential next step of a domain is to make it barrierless, and we're still underworking how does one get to that level. And then the law drops, whether that is with regard to the clan system, whether that is regard to how the Jujutsu society has changed so frantically, and how has previous clans become more extinct.
The Fujiwara clan is a clan that we have given knowledge on that is currently extinct. In that regard, we know from even briefly knowledge on Uro saying she was betrayed and her being an assassin for that clan, it could give us a lot more lore drops to the extinction of that clan and what happened in between them. But to build onto the whole clan system, seeing the inner makings of the big three clans, being the Zenin, Gojo, and the Kamo clan. But more than just that, we get to see the three vengeful spirits who have Japanese folklore in general and are big significance into Japanese history. But taking that to a step further, I believe Naoya was the setup to what it means for a vengeful spirit to come back and his purpose being revenge. Now, what made these three vengeful spirits become vengeful spirits in the first place? Does this tie into Kenjaku's whole quote in 206 about alliances and betrayals in this whole struggle in the world of curses? The whole change of the Jujutsu world has been so significant from the three big clans being the predominant leaders back in the HEIAN era, from what we could infer, because this is just headcanon to clarify, to now the modern day society. They still hold some significance, but to not of that level as they did from before. And then this could nicely tie into even Gojo's ideals of a reshaping of the whole Jujutsu world, and if that's the case, we will get to see the three stages of the past, the present, and the future that Gojo wants for him and his students. But even going to and tying it nicely with some of the characters such as Kenjaku, but seeing the inner workings of the whole Jujutsu reform and seeing how it's got to this point and how pivotal somebody such as Tengen was to this whole workings of the Jujutsu world really shapes up the most important arc, being the HEIAN era, because it has the keys to all these big answers.
When we talk about some of the biggest names in regard to Tengen, Sukuna, Kenjaku, and Angel. Even another new incarnated sorcerer such as Uru, who was a previous assassin who knew the inner workings of somebody such as Sukuna and holds us the key to what it means to have true strength with a burning aggression to disregard everything like a calamity. The HEIAN era holds so many keys to us in the story and will give us a huge level of knowledge that we are expecting to get, and why I believe it will not only be the most important arc, it will be the best arc in Jujutsu Kaisen. And let's talk a little bit more and start with one of my favorite characters in Sukuna.
Sukuna at this current time is a character who we still have barely information to us, yet has captivated us in the story and showcases us of what it means to showcase a true sense of individuality. Whether that is his connection with other characters such as Urame, whether that is why is he the fallen angel. His whole character arc and his whole character story as us from the audience is one of the most intriguing, because he's a calamity and a person who abides by just being purely evil. I think it's a really good direction that JJK has done, because in most shonens, having just a purely evil character can be a little bit weird to write. Of course, you never get to see their showcase of their ideals. However, with his charisma and other things with how he acts within the power system, in terms of how he acts with other characters, he gives us a whole new sense of hype or excitement every time he's in the series, and he really steals the show with somebody who was so limited into his character. This makes the HEIAN era even more interesting, because we know at this current juncture he's an individual who has not lost and is key to a lot of answers in regard to the power system and the inner workings of how the HEIAN era worked. We have brief indications to his mindset, what makes his character work. Going back into one of the earlier junctions, when he's with Gojo walking into Jujutsu High, he talks about a power system that isn't focused on strength is stupid. To summarize, the higher ups being in control yet not the strongest doesn't make sense to him, and it gives us a little bit of knowledge on the potential of how the HEIAN era works from before. But moving forward to that, with a person who has reincarnated sorcerers traveling all the way back just to fight him, has a loyal servant in Urume who seems to be working with his plan, and has a 1,000-year-old person who disregards everybody but still holds Sukuna to such a high regard that he said out of all his travels, Sukuna is the strongest person he has seen. And to take that to a step further, when we go to an arc such as Shibuya, with all the chaos that was happening, Kenjaku says, if anything goes wrong, our contingency is Sukuna. All these things just hype up Sukuna's eventual reveal, and eventually seeing what he is as a character and what made him this way. I think the good thing about him, there is no redeeming qualities in terms of a potential nice, light-hearted, oh, this is why he became who he is because he went through such a tragic backstory. I think the idea of disregarding everything, he was a person who was involved heavily in his era, whether that was through betrayals, alliances, or whatever it is, and that whole kind of mindset of looking through the HEIAN era, potentially through Sukuna's lens, is something that has of huge intrigue to me. And now we go to somebody else who he connects nicely with, and that's a 1,000-year-old hustler, Kenjaku. To be able to switch bodies and to make the maximum effort to whatever your goal is. Like, I'ma keep it real, he switched and became Yuji's mom, that is dedication. He switched Noritoshi Kamo and made him the worst criminal, top tier fraudster. He's now doing the exact same things and taking Geto's body and making him the worst criminal in modern day society. This guy is a top tier fraud, body switching thief, and a person who is dedicated to his cause to the maximum. But potentially seeing more of why he decided he wanted to get to this point of intrigue to see how much the expansion of the curse energy and curse techniques can become is intriguing to me, and why he now wants to merge with Tengen to create a chaos that he himself cannot see. One of the most interesting dialogues we got in the most recent chapter is his conversation with Tengen, with him saying, I spent time making alliances, making enemies, indulging in the era while Tengen stagnated. For those who are aware with my content, you would have seen me multiple times talk about Kenjaku and Tengen having a master-student relationship, and I believe this has taken it to a step further. I've even briefly touched upon about the potential inner workings of the Culling game potentially has occurred in the past, and I think as we continue to go on in the series, with somebody such as Tengen having such accurate information, and Kenjaku's plan being so thorough, it makes me think that this could be something that occurred from before. To quickly build on that, something such as Kashimo's backstory being in the Sendai colony, and with a bunch of bodies being taken away. This could potentially be, and if we call back to what it is being called, a ritual process that has happened multiple times in the story that we are currently unaware of. But regardless of that theory, and regardless whether that is true or not, seeing Kenjaku's mindset to how he has become the person he is extremely intriguing, because it goes past the knowledge of even scientific intrigue. To dedicate this much time, to say that you don't feel regret after all the events used into previous Six Eyes users, there has to be something of huge significance pushing him to eventually get to this level of getting this far. His whole character arc, who Kenjaku truly is in terms of his original body and what even the inner workings of his curse techniques are, there is so much intrigue to this character, and is why him and Sukuna are such captivating villains, because we are still to this day so in the dark in regards to their characters. And now we go to our biggest fraudster in Tengen. I don't have to tell you, how many times have I said Tengen is sus? If you're very familiar with my content, I've been on the Tengen hate trade from day one. And as we get more reveals, and one of the craziest reveals with Kenjaku, where he says Tengen is lying to you. The Culling game is what? Now this could go in nicely to the theory I just talked about with Kenjaku, with the fact that the Culling game has occurred from before. Or this could be something even more simple, as the Culling game was an idea that originated from Tengen, and with someone who has such knowledge on the barriers and etc., it would make a lot of sense. In regard, I've talked briefly in other videos that I believe Kenjaku was the previous head of the Star Religious Group, but getting to seeing the inner workings of that foundation being made and seeing Tengen's teachers back in the Nara period, it would give us so much lore drops to really give us the fundamental beginnings of Jujutsu in general. It would give us an indication to the whole religious system and religious kind of callbacks that Gege uses, because these were prevalent in old age Japan in real life stakes. Know how much influence that someone such as Gege uses, and seeing Tengen in their real form, what it is for their purpose in the story, and getting to really understand their whole life could potentially shed a whole new light on the most suspect character in the series, being Tengen. But regardless, for the Tengen defenders, and if you're a Tengen defender, why are you a Tengen defender? But if you are, this could potentially give you another indication that there are some skeletons or something that he's hiding in good faith for potentially our main cast. I severely doubt it, but at least there's that potential. It can explain to us what he potentially gained from the previous users of the Star Plasma vessels, and give us a whole new indication to immortality techniques that we still have to see between Tengen and both Kenjaku. Then another individual such as Angel. What was this god type figure that they were talking about, and does this connect to somebody such as Tengen? The more we go into the series, it seems as if these four characters at least share some level of relevance together back in the past, and the HEIAN era has all the keys to the inner workings of these characters. But to take it to a whole step further, it gives us an indication to how much drastic has the world changed from our modern day society to our previous society. Angel talking about reincarnated sorcerers not being something that follows their guidelines. Does that mean that there was potential for someone such as Druve, who has two incarnations, could be a person who was a victim of Angel and their gang of followers? Regardless, even things such as Uru, talking about the potential of an afterlife, talking about she has come back for her revenge. So many big characters, so much intrigue to the power system, as well as the potential lore drops of how the inner workings of the Jujutsu Society has been formed, with the pillars of the clans, the pillars of the Jujutsu High, the pillars of even our power system. Everything can be explained from the most important arc in the series, being the HEIAN era. Now, let me know down below on your thoughts on the HEIAN era and what could come from that arc. I believe, in my opinion, like I've said in this whole video, it is the most important arc to come from JJK, and it could really flesh out every single potential character and nuance that we're currently missing in the series. I believe it would be criminal, and I know Gege will deliver, but it would be criminal if we do not get to see this arc, especially with how hyped up it has been and the intricacies of what makes Jujutsu Kaisen an even greater series. But thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. What are you trying to see the most in the HEIAN era? And let me know your thoughts down below on this video.